today I'd like to talk about giving blood. Before I came to live at the Abbey, I never gave blood except when I had to. You know, the doctor says go and get a blood test because they're trying to determine if you have some disease or condition or whatever. But that's not really giving blood. That's kind of, after testing it, they probably throw it away. They don't really use it to benefit anybody. But I never voluntarily gave blood in order to, provide blood for someone who was in need, to save people's lives. So I knew it was a good thing to do, and I would think about doing it and think I really should do it. And of course, in the Dharma, we hear about how a bodhisattva should be willing to give everything, including their body, including their life. But somehow, when I thought about, lying there on the couch with a needle stuck in your arm, connected to a machine, and it's draining out your blood, it just sounded really scary. So I just never got up the courage to do it. But then about 10 years ago, I had several surgeries. And during that, I had needles stuck in my arm and in my hand, sometimes for hours at a time. And I discovered it wasn't really that bad. There's this initial prick, and then that's it. You hardly notice it's there. So that helped me to get a little more habituated to that kind of thing. And then about 2 years ago, exactly, I think 2 years ago this month, someone here at the Abbey found out about a blood drive happening at our little local hospital. And we were talking about it at lunch one day, and people were saying, oh yeah, I want to go. And I thought, yeah, I want to go too. So finally, I got up enough courage to sign up to go and give blood. And so there were quite a few of us that day. We piled into cars and went down to the hospital, and we were just all geared up to give blood. Unfortunately, they didn't want my blood. Because you have to ask, they ask you all these questions about your medical history and also where you've lived and where you've traveled to and so on. And it turns out that because I lived in the UK between certain late 70s, early 80s, and at that time in the UK they had mad cow's disease. And some of it got into the blood banks. So anyone who got a blood transfusion at that time would still have it in their blood. So they made a law that anyone who lived in England during those years can't give blood. So I was really so I lived in England during that time. And but they told me, but that law is about to be repealed. They realized it's nonsense and they were going to throw it out. So they told me if I came back in 2 weeks, then I would be qualified to give blood. So I had to sort of wait by the sidelines while the other Abbey people went and gave their blood. I could rejoice, but I was kind of a little disappointed. But anyway, I did manage to give 2 weeks later and found that it wasn't a bad experience at all. And in fact, I felt really good. It felt like a really good thing to do, knowing that I could make some contribution to saving lives of others. And yeah, so since then I've given 5 times, and I'll be going again this week, Thursday. Yeah. So there's this company called Vitalent. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, Vitalent. And they have an office in Spokane, and they have teams of people and buses that drive around this area, and they go to little towns like Newport. And they're in Newport at least 2 times, sometimes 3 times a month. And so it's really easy. You just drive to Newport. I mean, you have to sign up for time. And then, they have all the equipment, the people, everything. They're really nice people. And I did a little research on that company. And they actually started in 1943. And I thought, oh, that was during the Second World War. So there was probably a big need for blood at that time, all the troops going overseas to fight. And apparently a number of companies started. I'm not sure if company is the right word, but it is organization, to give people the chance to donate blood and then provide that blood to hospitals. And that company, so this company Vitaland has 120 donation centers all around the country. But that's just one. I mean, there's others as well. There's like the Red Cross and so on. Many opportunities to give blood. And during one of the visits I made over the last year or so, I was chatting with the person who was taking the blood, and he said that he gave some statistics, which I don't remember, but in this area, in the past, there were many more people who gave blood, and that has really decreased in recent years. It was kind of startling, the comparison. And apparently that isn't just a local problem, because I saw an article online that said that in January this year, the American Red Cross announced that they were facing a blood shortage after it experienced its lowest level of donations in the past 20 years. So it's not just because of the pandemic. That was one cause, I think. But if it's been more than 20 years or over 20 years, then it's been a problem for a long time. I don't know the reasons why fewer people are giving blood nowadays. Maybe they're more busy or what, I don't know. But anyway, it's a big problem. And then just recently on August 8th, the Red Cross declared an emergency blood shortage as their national blood inventory dropped by more than 25% in July. So there's less blood available, but there's at least as much need, if not more. I mean, the population's always increasing, so you'd think that there'd be more need for blood and less people giving. So I would like to encourage people to consider donating some of your blood. They don't take very much, and it's not very painful or scary, and it's a really good thing to do. And I know that some people don't really qualify. There's like a weight limit. You have to be at least 110 pounds. So some people may be below that. Also, if you're taking certain medications or if you've had certain diseases in the past, you may not qualify. But you can at least, check to see if you do qualify. And then if you do, look for ways in which you could give blood. So it's really beneficial for those who are in need of blood. It can really save lives. I guess right now they really need what's it called? O blood? Type O, yeah. That's the one that's really in need right now. But it's also a Dharma practice. It's one of the types of giving. So there's different ways we can practice giving, which is one of the 6 perfections. And it would be giving materials, giving something physical. And as I mentioned, bodhisattvas, it said that bodhisattvas should be willing to give everything they own, including their body. And there's that famous story of one of the Buddha's previous lives when he was a bodhisattva and gave his body to a tiger family. There was this mother tiger who was starving, and she had 5 cubs, and she was even sort of contemplating eating them because she was so hungry. So out of great compassion, this bodhisattva, at that time his name was Prince Mahasattva, gave his body to them. But it is said that we shouldn't give our life until we're at a high level of the path. So don't worry. And there's a discussion about this in volume 6, Courageous Compassion. It says, bodhisattvas may give their bodies to someone in need only when they have no clinging to their bodies. And some bodhisattvas attain that ability when they're on the path of preparation. That's the second of the 5 paths. And by that time, they already have uncontrived, spontaneous bodhicitta. They also have a realization of emptiness, and they have the union of calm abiding and special insight, observing emptiness. So that's a pretty high level. But the book also mentions that many great masters say that bodhisattvas who have not yet reached the first ground, which is the path of seeing, should not give their lives because they are not yet capable of controlling their rebirth. It is better for these bodhisattvas to remain alive in this body and practice the Dharma for the remainder of their life. So we shouldn't be in a hurry to, run out in the forest and look for a hungry tiger or a hungry cougar or bear or wolf to give our body to. But giving blood is something we can do. We can give our blood and still have our precious human life with which we can continue to practice the Dharma and develop our realizations and get further on the path. And so, so it can be a Dharma practice, depending on our motivation, of course. And ideally, our motivation should be bodhicitta. And so that would be to think not just, I'm giving blood in order to provide blood for some people here and now, but to think long term. My ultimate goal is to become a Buddha, fully enlightened Buddha, so that I can help all living beings become free of all suffering and causes and so on. And it's for that reason that I'm doing this act of giving a little bit of my blood. And you can also remember emptiness. That really makes it a practice for the attainment of enlightenment. So whatever understanding of emptiness you have, you can bring that in and think the I who is giving doesn't exist inherently independently. There's no independent I who is the owner of this body and this blood and so on, but just, there's this collection of aggregates, body and mind, and a merely designated I in relation to this. So that I is who is giving. And then the act of giving is also not inherently existing, but merely labeled. And then the blood that is being given is also not inherently independently existing, but merely labeled. So contemplating that and bringing in an understanding of emptiness, so that really makes it cause for enlightenment. And to further inspire you, I thought to read the prayer that was made by the Buddha in his previous life when he was Prince Mahasattva. And there's a place in Nepal called Namo Buddha, which is not too far from Kathmandu. It's a couple hours drive, really beautiful place. And it said that that is the actual place where this amazing act was done. And there's a plaque there showing the Bodhisattva giving his body. And and the whole story is in the Sutra of Golden Light, which is in English, if you want to read it. It's a beautiful story. But anyway, before giving his body, he contemplated how, this body is just made of flesh and blood and impure substances, and it's impermanent, and, not didn't have any attachment to his body, and then thought, I can use this body to create the cause to become a Buddha, to become fully enlightened. So that was his motivation. And this is the prayer that he made just before offering his body to the tiger family. He said, to benefit transmigrating beings, may I attain the peace of peerless enlightenment. My mind compassionate and steadfast, I give this body which others find hard to give up. May I achieve the flawless, priceless enlightenment that bodhisattvas so keenly seek. I shall free beings in the triple worlds from the intense fear of the ocean of existence. So I think we can have similar thoughts when we're giving just our blood or other things. So let's make an effort to practice giving as much as we can in whatever way we can, even just giving little bit of food or water to hungry animals, insects, people, and so on. Thank you.